Alright, y'all.
What?
Okay. Albert Einstein describes insanity as doing the same thing over and over again without expecting different results. People expect change, and voting is our way to instill change in our country, but people don't vote and they complain about the lack of change. Through research on the topic of voting, I hope I can inspire and move you to take action and vote. As young voters, we are in a culture of non-voters, told by our peers that one vote doesn't matter and our vote doesn't count. But we need to realize its importance and take action, because voting is one of the key points of our country. As Americans, we vote our leaders into office, and we know that it is very important. Even so, people have many excuses as to why they don't vote. In America, we have to register ourselves to vote. People are not willing to inconvenience themselves by going to register. Because registering is a separate act, only 1 in 4 of eligible voters are registered, as studied by Pew Research Center in 2012. For some, only 2 parties are not enough. Supporters of third parties like the Green Party feel that their vote does not count because our 2-party system often squashes out smaller parties. People who are eligible to vote but don't also show apathy, which is inspired by social groups in the United States that don't regard voting as being very important. Voters have to make many decisions which can become overwhelming, and the overwhelming thought of all these decisions often lead to disinterest and cause people not to vote. We know the reasons behind the problem, so we can now look towards the solutions. Voting is our obligation. It can be a pain, but there are many ways to make it more convenient. Inconvenience to register is a big reason for low voter turnout. One way to counteract this is to take advantage of easy registration when at the DMV. You are given the option to register with ease, as stated in the journal Democracy, a Journal of Ideas. Also, look for one-stop shop voting locations that allow you to vote and register in the same location to streamline the process as much as possible. Also, we should educate young and upcoming voters on the importance of voting. Statistics show that the more educated people you have, the more voters you have. So if we educate young people, the more young voters we will have. Also, education inspires interest. So if we educate people on voting, they will be more inspired to vote. Another way is to make voting more personal, so people see it as important to them. One way to do this is to target all platforms like social media to inform people of elections, election dates, and candidates, because people are more likely to take action on things that are relevant to them. We know the problems that cause low voting turnout and solutions to increase it, so we can now look at why we must vote. Voting is the foundation of our country. Election results should reflect the views of the country, but in primary elections, only 60% of voters show up, and worse than that, in midterm elections, only 40% of the country's voters show up, so a minority is deciding the outcome of our election. Also, young voters have the biggest impact in election. Millennials make up 1/3 of the electorate. Also, only 40% of young voters identify as non-white, making young voters the most diverse group in United States voting history. Also, as Americans, it is our duty to vote. In a Pew Research Center study, 74% of people said that voting is a determining factor in becoming a good United States citizen, and we must strive to become a good citizen. Also, all wars in American history have been fought to protect freedom, which includes our freedom to vote. So not voting is not taking advantage of what everyone has fought so hard to protect. We now know why people don't vote, solutions to increase voter turnout, and why we must vote. So in conclusion, voting is a right and obligation in our country. Looking back, we know the problems, the solutions, and reasons why we must vote and why we must take action. Voting is the base of our society. I hope that I have inspired you by the solutions and reasons behind voting to take action and do your duty to become a good United States citizen.